So today we have Ebru Kurbak for our roundtable meeting. Before we start, I would like to shortly introduce Ebru's previous work and her biography. She's an artist and designer, and she's driven by her interest in the hidden political nature of everyday spaces, technologies, and routines, and how the design of the ordinary is involved in shaping values, practices, ideologies. She received her Master of Science in Architecture from Istanbul Technical University in Turkey, before working at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna as project leader of Stitching Worlds. She lectured at the Department of Visual Communication Design and Photography and Video at Istanbul Big University, and the Department of Space and Design Strategies at the University of Arts and Industrial Design in Linz. She carried out artistic residencies at La Gaîté Lyrique Paris, Laboral Gijon, V2 Rotterdam, and IBEAM New York, and exhibited at international platforms such as the Ars Electronica Festival at Linz, ZKM Karlsruhe, ZGRAF United States, Microwave Hong Kong, and Pixel Festival Bergen, Norway, among others. Kurbak received the Erste Bank More Value Design Prize in 2015. For more information, you can check www.ebrukurbak.net. So we are with you, Ebru. Hello.
Hello, hey. Oh, hey. Hi, everyone. Nice seeing you all. Thank you very much for the intro, and thanks for the invite and hosting me at your shift, so to say. The format is interesting because you sent me a few questions and it let me ponder on some. Also, you wanted me to talk about my work through these questions, and it let me ponder on some certain aspects of my work, which is always kind of mind-opening. So thank you for that. It's an opportunity for me too. I was told that I have only like 10 to 20 minutes or something like that to talk about make an introduction, let's say, and then there was a discussion. So I'll try to go right away into it. So I should share my screen. It feels a little strange that I don't hear you. And now I will stop seeing you. Okay. Share. Do you see my screen? Can you not? I still see you. Okay. So here are the 3 questions you sent me. I will try this. What do you think? Can I see you and my slides at the same time?
It would actually be better if we could see the slides full screen.
Okay, then I'll let you go. Here it is. So when I received the questions, why does the BNI exist? What does it do, and for whom does it exist? It really made me think about my own practice, and I will first start with the question: for whom does it exist? I must admit that I thought of like a variety of audiences for the BNI, and I think what it means and what does it do and why does it exist really depends on who is experiencing it and who is interested in it at that particular moment. So of course it's open for general public, and it is also open for anyone who is interested and who is self-identified with the subject. It can be architecture, biennale, art, or design, or any other sort of exhibition. The nice thing here is that you can identify with it from yourself, within yourself, and nobody has to give you the right that you're a part of this community or clan in a way. But also it is, of course, for practitioners a sort of marketplace where maybe the main value is visibility, and there are journalists, there are people reviewing work. So it is really another level of these kind of exhibitions. But also, obviously, this is not an altruistic favor of people who invest in such things. Like there is a lot of money and resources going into it. So obviously, it is also interesting for at administrative levels and executive levels and policymakers and so forth. And what is interesting for me is how, of course, the aspect that it's interesting for practitioners like us and whoever identifies with it, if it's architecture, whoever identifies with architecture, whoever practices it, thinks they practice it, and whoever talks about it and writes about it and studies it and is aspiring to become one. So for them, especially my experience with Architecture Biennale is not as much as I have experience in art and design. But when I think of architecture exhibitions, which are not documentaries, let's say, which are production of spaces and not like exhibitions of already produced documentations of already produced works, let's say, I think architecture crystallizes more as a form of art, perhaps. I mean, I don't want to categorize things so strictly, but what I'm trying to talk about is that the practice of making something also overlaps with discourse perfectly, or it's an opportunity that these two can overlap. An architectural space can become not only architecture, but also a statement about architecture in its purest form, but also it can become research. It can also become kind of the output of that research, which is maybe like display of output or sharing of knowledge in a way. So that particular moment should be appreciated. I'm saying this because I know you are working in this amazing space, and you're looking at what you do from also this perspective, probably like trying to make meaning out of what you do. So I think this aspect is really important and should be kind of celebrated while you have the chance, let's say. So a little bit about myself. As you introduced, I mean, I identify as artist, but I studied architecture. Sometimes my works are exhibited in media arts exhibitions or under critical design and other artistic practices. Not so much as architecture, but every time I exhibit at an architectural department, if I share my works with architects, I always get the comment that it is obvious that I had the education of architecture in some way. I think like an architect sometimes. I think in the way I understand architecture, and I really appreciate this year's theme. I haven't been there yet, but at the Venice Biennale, where it's about free space, but it's about space, which is the essential component of architecture for me. So I see space, organization of space, as organization of many things, organization of relationships, structures. So the world is really, really complex. It has a lot of intensities in different degrees, but then we kind of organize it into boxes, we categorize things, and then we give meanings to those things, we compare those things, and we actually create ideologies and social structures and economic structures and political structures. And all this spatial compartmentalization, which happens in real life or which happens in reality, let's say objectively measurable, or in somebody's mind, is actually a way of architectural thinking for me. And it can be applied in any type of practice. In a way, it can appear in any practice, let's say. So just so that's what I do in general. What I do is that I create work that is that does not attempt to spatially organize a physical reality, but maybe the audience's mind in a way. So when I create and show work, I expect the audience to, or my intention, my wish at the best level is that the audience can reconfigure what they thought about something and how they evaluated things and how they put them in small boxes, let's say. A very literal example I will start with, just to survey a little bit of work. And I'm not showing everything I've ever done, of course, in this limited time, but I will just show you what I mean by this spatial organization and architecture, fragments of architectural thinking in non-architecture, let's say. So this is an exhibition called A Wardrobe for Resistance, which I made a retrospective of like the oldest works I've ever done, which are like 5 pieces in a way. Some are collaborative works.
Küçük bir aksaklık var sanırım. Biraz
Okay.